So today I'm going to be showing you how to turn up your Blender project's realism a whole notch, and we're going to be using just Photoshop and Blender by themselves, and we're going to go through the composition process in Blender and also the added details that really make a difference if you put it in Photoshop. This is by no means perfect, but this is just what I was doing on my own terms, figuring it out myself. But if we look at the original render, this is the frame I got. So I just pressed render, and I'm using Turbo Tools as well, but I had my settings on medium for both, so it could be better, but when it comes to realism, honestly, the lower quality your renders, the better, to be honest. Scrolling in these darker areas, and it seemed to me like there wasn't enough noise, there wasn't enough breaking up of the pixels, if you know what I mean. Color distortion, color dispersion. And so I figured, okay, well, let me first off take this into Photoshop. Now this is the composed image, so before I take you to Photoshop, I'm gonna head over to the composition tab, and I have a very simple node tree going on here and so I just have a brightness contrast turned to 0.6, and then exposure turned to 0. This is just because my settings for my world they were a little bright, so I turned on the exposure just a little bit. And then for the glare, which I think these were really important to make it look the way I wanted it to, I did 2 steps of glare. One of them was just a normal bloom, and the other glare was just a streaks, and set at medium as well. So now stepping out of Blender, because as you can see, even with all these render settings, the render just looks fake. It doesn't look real. If you zoom in on this glass, but you can see it just looks too flat. It looks too nice, it looks too clean. We can't settle for that. So I took it to Photoshop and I did some tweaking there. So when we hop into Photoshop, this is what we got. If we zoom into the darker areas, you can notice it's perfectly clean. There's no noise, there's no color distortion, there's nothing of that sort. I actually started off with the noise, and so what I did for the noise is this. So in Photoshop, if you take your base composition, you put it in here, and then you duplicate it. So Control J, duplicate, then you come up here to filter, and in filter you go to noise, and you want to go to add noise. So if we add noise, you can see your monochromatic might be on, it might not. Make sure it's off, and I had mine set at 6.5, the amount. And then I just did uniform. And so if you go ahead and okay this, if you use this by itself, you're gonna go, well, this does not look like I want it to look. It's just overly grainy now with rainbow noise everywhere. If you want to rename this second layer noise, so we're gonna go into noise, as you can see here, and then stay on the blending options tab. So right now we have everything we need here. Now I'll head down to the blend if area, and we have current layer and underlying layer. So this layer is gonna be above the base copy, or your base composition. So take your underlying layer, this little triangle, you can see you can move it around, and what this does is it takes all the brighter parts of the image, everything that is white, and as you move it down towards the black, it gets rid of the lighter parts of the image being used for this layer. So because your noise layer is on top of your composition that you exported from Blender, what it's doing is it's saying, okay, whatever threshold I set for this not to be on here, the opacity is going to become 0. Now, the good thing about this is you can blend this. So if you hold Alt and then you left click on the left or right side of the triangle, you can move the triangle whichever way you want it to move. So for this case, we're going to want to do this. Bring the triangle to about a 4th or 5th of this color ramp bar, and then hold Alt and right click, and you're going to want to bring this all the way down. Now for your project, you can tweak this however you want. I just wanted to make sure it was good. And so what does this do? Well, it gets rid of all the noise in the brighter parts of the image, because as you know, if you take an image in real life, an overexposed image or an image that is bright typically doesn't have a ton of noise. And so it's the opposite. If it's super dark, your image is going to have a lot of noise, because the sensor on your camera, on a actual camera, not a perfect camera in Blender that captures every pixel perfectly. In real life, the sensor of that camera that's taking in the light has a lack of it, and so it kind of makes up its own mind on what's there, and so that's how you get noise. And so for our case, we're going to want to make sure we minimize the amount of noise in the areas that shouldn't have it. So as you can see, we still have a ton of noise in all these darker areas, but in the lighter areas, you can see we have none. And if we turn that back up, and if we grab this triangle and turn it back up, as you can see, now we still have noise everywhere. We have noise in the areas where it really shouldn't be in a normal image. And now for the fill and opacity, we're going to want to use fill opacity first. So you're going to want to turn this down to your liking. But for me, I think a good base level for everyone to be 75 for the fill opacity, and about 65 to maybe 60 to 70 for the regular opacity. So after you have your opacity set, your blend ifs, you're going to come up here to filter, and you're going to go to blur, Gaussian blur. I think the numbers I'm going to give you are pretty standard, so you shouldn't need to change them. You know, you pick and choose anywhere from 0.2 to 0.5. The noise isn't just perfect. The noise isn't just a bunch of pixels. Some parts of the image are processed differently. So some parts of the image are better than others. Some parts of them are kind of meshed together. And you can even do 2 passes of this, I'll be honest. That's what I did. So I went up to Gaussian blur, and I didn't do 0.3 again, but I did 0.2. The noise on, the noise off, noise on, noise off. And one place I noticed this to be pretty much perfect and where I wanted it to be was the glass. So if you look at the glass, now it actually has some flavor. Now it has some, okay, well, this wasn't taken on a $1 trillion camera. This is like, you know, some real stuff. And even in real life, even if you took this on a, you know, this exact same picture, you know, it's going to be processed and it's not going to be perfect. Now moving on, you don't need to add this, but I wanted to add this for my personal taste. It's just a little bit of overexposing. So I turn it on and it just makes the image brighter. It makes everything a little bit brighter. Now this final piece we're going to add to kind of glue everything together, it's just simple gradient map with a few blend modes. And for this, I don't even really know what I did, but I was just experimenting. And I figured I wanted to change the colors because the colors are too perfect, but I don't want to change them too much. You're going to want to create a gradient map. So come down here to the bottom. These are the codes here. And that's just white and black. So you can kind of play with whatever, so you can kind of play with that. So if we turn this on, I'm going to show you what this exactly does. So let's turn it on. And you can see off the rip, just a big difference up close where it's kind of breaking up this color. We're trying to accomplish an imperfect image. I didn't mess with any of the grays, greens, or blues, only the reds. So the reds, I just kind of tweaked some of these. I was up close messing with it to see if I could make something change here or there. And this is what I got. So I just did this and then I set the blend mode to lighting and that's it. It just adds a ton to the fence as well, a ton of damage to the fence. And it kind of takes all that nice red. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. A lot of projects on the way, a lot of cool endeavors I'm uptaking. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.